Hi, welcome to another episode of Built by Ben. In this week's episode we are dealing with a problematic wall. Now this wall has suffered from historic subsidence, which in short means that it's not sinking anymore. But nevertheless, the cracks in this wall are still moving very slightly every day due to changes in temperature. Not enough to cause any more damage, but enough to re-crack anything that we try and cover it with. Even when dot and dab, these problem walls can pop the adhesive and cause big problems. So today's video will show you how to deal with the issue, how to avoid any further nightmares. Now the site is very busy on the day I did this, so talking to the camera whilst working wasn't an option. So I'm going to talk over the footage and explain certain bits of it to help anyone that's doing a similar thing. As always, if you like the video, click the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, tell your mates about it. Cheers. Okay, so at this point we're just going to have a little hoover out of all the floor. Have a little scrape with my scraper there, just to take off any little bits of concrete and bits of dot and dab that are left behind. Make sure that the sole plate can be put down nice and level. Have a quick little measure up for the sole plate, quick measure for the head plate, and we'll take the angle of that point of the roof there so that we can cut the angle onto the end of the head plate. So here's the sole plate, just run downstairs and cut that quickly. We can't bring the cutter up into this room because it's so small. So unfortunately no cutting footage today, but we'll get this screwed down into the floor. So we've just gone through the sole plate with a 5mm drill bit and then going through into the existing floor there with a 4x70mm screw, just to make sure we get a good grab out of that. And what we're doing here is we're just setting up the laser, just marking a few points on the chimney breast there so that we can try and follow the line of that sole plate level all the way round. You can see just joining up the dots there with the level, just so that we can get our final line and make sure that it joins up on that ceiling. So we just screw this sole plate in, get that all fixed in nice and tight, and then we can go ahead and stick that ceiling plate in. Just doing a few test holes there, just making sure we can hit a joist at some point. Doesn't really matter too much about covering them up obviously, because we're going to stick a fake wall in there. So the only way really to solve this problematic wall, as you can see now, is that we're just building a 3x2 stud work in front of the existing wall. Then we'll get the dry liners to plasterboard that. Just make sure that the wall can move behind it if it wants to. If that crack continues to crack, or if it just moves about a bit, it's not going to affect our wall in front of it. So that's how we get over the problem. You do lose a bit of space, and if you can't afford to lose the space, unfortunately this isn't the answer, but in this room we could afford to lose the 3-inch, so that's the option that we've gone for. So we just get the right hand side plate screwed into the wall here. Had a little bit of trouble with that. After pre-drilling it, realised that it was quite a way back to the brickwork after the dot and dabbers had finished, so we had to shoot off and get some 120mm screws to go all the way through and hit the brown plugs behind. So we'll just get that fixed on there, and then we go ahead and fix the left plate onto the chimney breast there. So again, just pre-drilling these with a 7mm drill bit, ready for the 7mm masonry to go through all the way into the brickwork. So the first hole, I always just bang the plug straight into the brickwork and then offer the wood up with the screw already in it and go into the raw plug that way. And then the rest of them we just drill all the way through the wood, and then we bang the plug all the way through the wood using the screw. And then once you've banged it through enough, you can then just tighten the screw up. Saves you taking the wood off a few times. You can see tapping the screws in there with the raw plugs on the end of them. Good little tip is just to bang the raw plug into the hole first. Don't try and put it on the end of the screw and then bang it through, because that'll never work. That'll just split your raw plug, and by the time you're all the way in, the raw plug will be non-existent. So we just cut a bit of the wood slightly longer than the top and the side plate there, mark the angles on the back of it. We went downstairs to cut them angles. Even with my first fix, I like to get all the angles spot on, just because once you then fix it all together, you get such a better fixing. It's all just a lot more solid. There are a few first fixers out there that will just cut everything square because they know that the plasterboard's going to cover it anyway. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do, it's just not what I do. So you do it that way, it doesn't really matter. So what we're doing here, we've marked out the upright studs on the bottom plate there. I'm just using my laser on top of my hoover there, just to get all of the top points, and then what you can do is just measure to the top of all your studs, write them all down, go and cut them. So that sort of fit there is what I like. And you'll see here that once I get this one banged in, it's nice and tight. It's probably just moved either the floor down or the ceiling up a touch, which made that second one loose. So all we do there is we just grab a spacer, pop the spacer underneath, and then hammer it in so that it's nice and tight. There's nothing wrong with doing that, it just makes it a lot easier to pin it, obviously, if it's not floating about. So we're going through with a first fix Paslow gun there. It's got 90mm smooth nails coming out of it. So we just go through, put your uprights in, and then we measure out for the noggins. Now the dry liners usually start with their first one horizontal, so what I do is measure up to the bottom of the noggin at 1190, and that just ensures that the middle of the noggin is then at 1210, and then they lift their plasterboard off of the floor about 10mm, make sure it's right in the middle for them. I don't know if they're going to start with a horizontal one on this one at this point, so I was just assuming. I like to do that basic standards anyway, just to make it easier. It's all about thinking about the next trade that's after you, rather than just sorting yourself out. Think about who's coming in after. Is it going to be easier or harder for them the way you're doing it? Best way to act on site, especially when you've got loads of trades. So we've got all of them noggins in there, and then this is a quick little photo now. Dry liners stuck their plasterboard on it. That'll have a skim of pink on it, and then hopefully that'll be job sorted. Okay, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell and tell your mates about it. See ya.